Peace, brothers and sisters, peace. Yeah, guys. It's been a while. I hope you guys have been keeping well. I want to talk about reality, self-help, the importance of self-help, especially in the context of Africa and South Africa. In the past 20 years, China has lifted about 600 million people out of poverty. And, that's not a child's play. 600 million people, that's 10 times the size of South Africa in 20 years. And I can't say the same about South Africa. Even in relative terms, I can't say the same. I think only 13% of people are out of poverty since the past 30 years in South Africa. I'm not sure of the numbers, but I know it's very low. So I want to propose something to people who are in poverty, people who are suffering, people who are poor, people who are in distress, people who are looking for solutions, and even more, people who expect solutions from others. And my proposal is that you need to wake up. And the sooner you wake up, the better for yourself and for your future generations. Guys, I'm very, very well versed in history. I was watching a video of these two gentlemen and they were arguing, and one of them even suggested that sometimes he doubts if South African indigenous peoples are descendants of all these great ancestors who built civilizations throughout Africa. Because Africans love to claim, these ancestors, these black pharaohs and all that, the kings, the kingdoms and all that. And it's fine. You're very much allowed to do that. And you should. It's your history. I know my ancestors. A group of my ancestors were very good with making weapons. Others were blacksmiths, were goldsmiths, were ironsmiths. It's something I can claim that I come from a line of people who dealt with precious stones, precious metals. I come from a line of people who were, nobilities in the context of that time. But remember, guys, we are in 2023 and it doesn't matter how many pharaohs were your ancestors. Bottom line is that you are the most disrespected group of people in the world. You are the most disliked group of people in the world. You are definitely the poorest group of people in the entire universe. It doesn't matter whether you come from a line of a million pharaohs who ruled all the universe and everything. It's fine for you to know that, but if it doesn't help, what is the point then? What is the point of always arguing with other people, claiming your history, which you know is yours? How does that help you? If something doesn't help advance you right now, or at least for the future, then don't waste your time on it. That's why I don't understand people who fuss over stupidity and, trivialities. Stop debating online and trying to claim and trying to prove that, oh no, Africa had civilizations and all that. Africa did have civilizations, but they don't matter because Africa is not the conqueror, it's the conquered. The conqueror comes and writes the story from the perspective of the conqueror. And until you work yourself out of that conquest, you have no power. It doesn't matter how many times you explain that, oh no, we were kings, we're this. It doesn't matter. People don't give a damn. They conquered you. They don't give a damn whether you were the son of the pharaoh. They're not going to come and praise you the next day. They'll actually even twist that story so that they can claim your history. And that's the reality we are faced with now. So from the discussion that I was watching, I understood what those gentlemen were talking about. Ike Khumalo and Penuel the Black Pan. Ike Khumalo is coming and advocating for the apartheid government, which is very stupid. Here's the thing about South Africa, guys. Apartheid or democracy have nothing to do with you. Apartheid, which is a policy or a series of policies that were enacted officially 1948, and so-called democracy that was enacted officially in 1994, both those are two sides of the same coin. They have nothing to do with you. In both instances, you've been deprived of the one thing that is yours, the resources. And even before apartheid, in the time of British imperialism, and Afrikaner republics, it was the same. Your resources are not in your hands. And until you work yourself out of that condition, until you work yourself out of not owning anything, it doesn't matter if it's democracy, which one is better, democracy, oh, apartheid was better. None of them were better because none of them have anything to do with you. It's true that native South Africans do not own South Africa. You know, South Africa was actually formed in 1910. The modern day South Africa was formed in 1910, not in 1994. And therefore, it is a lie that Nelson Mandela is the father of the nation because he didn't father the nation. In 1910, he was not even born. He would be born 8 years later. The fathers of the nation were those men, Afrikaners and English, who came together, or let me rather say Dutch descendants and English descendants, who came together in 1910, the 31st of May, got their independence, and they formed the Union of South Africa. Up to this day, that has been the case. South Africa was formed that day. It was not formed in 1994. There was nothing formed in 1994, except a certain system gave way to a new face. Still the same system, but a new face. So now, how do you solve the problem now of the native South Africans or native Southern Africans or even native Africans? How do you solve that problem? Do you debate about which one? Oh, apartheid, there was good infrastructure during apartheid. Oh no, the roads were better, it was safer. Nah, man, there's nothing to do with you. Apartheid or democracy, it has absolutely, you need to detach yourself from those complete garbages, both of them. Garbage systems, because they don't address your problems. And the problem of the native South African is that the native South African does not benefit from the resources of the land that belongs to them. And that's the key. If there's anything that you're wasting your time on and it does not directly benefit you or your descendants, then you are wasting your life. I don't care whether it's politics or history or whatever. It does not help to engage or spend your time on things that will not translate to actual value for you right now, right here on earth. So as I was watching Penuel the Black Pen and Ike Khumalo, I did comment a bit because Ike Khumalo is trying to, nullify the validity of our history. We do have a rich history. It can go tens of thousands of years, if you like, according to modern scientists. There's Bukoni ruins in Mpumalanga, the oldest human settlement in history. You've got the Diepkloof Cave with the oldest recordings of writing in history here in Southern Africa, in South Africa. You go to Maropeng, the cradle of humankind in South Africa. There's been reports in the Kalahari of underground cities. We know we have a complex cave system underground. These were not just accidents. These people invented these things. And it's not aliens, it's people who lived here, who gave birth to other people who lived here, who gave birth to other people who lived here, and who gave birth to us. You've got Kweneng ruins in the Vaal region, Gauteng, Northwest. You've got Zata ruins. You've got in Limpopo, Bampungube ruins in Limpopo. What else do you want, And these things existed hundreds and thousands of years ago. They're still there to this day. So we can't nullify that just because the native South African is stripped of their land and stripped of their resources and stripped of their identity and stripped of their culture and stripped of their power above all of these things. We can't say those things are not important or those things don't matter anymore. They do. That's your history. But fussing over that at the expense of productive time that you could be using on something else is outright stupidity. It's complete and utter stupidity. And I've seen a lot of people back in university, online, debating over and over and over and over again. But then when you look at the reality of the country, things are deteriorating. Every single day, rape is going through the roof. Murder going through the roof. Poor sanitation. Poor infrastructure. But yet people are busy, with rhetoric and populism online. It doesn't help. Because at the end of the day, you still live in an unsafe country. You will probably get killed on the road. You'll probably get shot during a cash and transit heist. So now you see why it's important to understand priorities. You can claim all the history you want. History will remain history. It's not going to change because some people want to falsify it. It's not going to change. You don't have to fight for truth because truth is already truth. What you need to do is take your power. Yes, take your power and assume a new position, a position of power. And that is the key. And this means now we have to address other issues, more important issues, more pertinent issues, such as education. What is the role of modern education? It's assimilation. The education that we have teaches people to assimilate into the Western society. But how does assimilating to Western society help us with our needs? It doesn't. It actually strips us even further of our being. And that's why today we are where we are. That's why today we are where we are with, man, high percentages of the population living in poverty. It's ridiculous. Perhaps native South Africans could learn from other groups, the Arabs, the Asians, and even the Southern Americans. These people, specifically the Asians, the Chinese in particular, they didn't wake up like, I see America, I want to assimilate into the American society. No, they didn't do that. They designed something for themselves so that they could help themselves. 50 years ago, China was a laughingstock of the world, even here in South Africa. If there's a product from China, we called it a Fong Kong because we understood it as having low value. Even though that's debatably false, but that's how we understood it. You wanted something from Germany, you wanted something from France. But today, China is a superpower in its own right. They didn't ask for handouts. They didn't expect to be helped by anyone. They woke up and chose to work and work and work. And that is the only way you can help yourself, by actually doing it. That's the only way we can help ourselves, by actually doing it. You need a system of complete independence. You need to be able to feed yourself, clothe yourself, wash yourself, teach yourself, defend yourself, and reproduce yourself. Complete independence. That's what apartheid was about. It was never about you. You were just an inconvenience to the apartheid regime. You were just a casualty and inconvenience to a bigger project. A project of independence. Whether or not it was moral, it's not even a question. We know it was terrible. Still is to this day. We can still feel the effects to this day. Spatial planning and all that. Still in place. Apartheid is still intact. But my point is, it was for a particular cause, and they achieved that cause at least 90% and above. What was the cause? Uplift the Afrikaner people. They forged an identity for themselves. Remember, these people were English, Dutch, German, French, even Spanish. They came together. They were mixed by mostly Germanic tribes: Dutch, English, German, and a large number of French later on. These people forged a new identity after the wars. They fought Afrikaner Boer War. They forged a new identity, and they needed to uplift themselves. That's why they even formed the Young South Africa, or what became later known as the Broedersbond, or what we know today as Afrikaner Bond. They formed that in 1918. And the entire goal, more than 98% of the government officials in apartheid South Africa were members of the Afrikaner Bond or the Broedersbond. And they had one agenda: uplift Afrikaners. That's it. And they did that perfectly. So that was the goal. They did not expect handouts. They did receive help, but they did not rely on it. And that's how a society should operate. You assume a uniform identity with its own nuances, its own context, but then you assume that identity and then you work towards a particular goal. There must be a clear agenda. Now tell me, what is the identity of black South Africans, or black people generally, besides skin color? What do they stand for? What are the values? Is there even such a thing as black people to begin with? As a people, I'm not taking as human beings with dark skin color because of melanin. I'm talking about as a people, as a society. Does that even exist? For example, where you stay, would you say that that community has an agenda, has an identity that they share, has values that they share. Would you say that? Or it's just a group of people who were placed inconveniently by the apartheid government in one place, grouped together by force, but they have no actual identity, no agenda, no plan whatsoever? Then you can't then say that you are a people if you don't have that. That's why I like the biblical narrative, because you see, the biblical God, people don't understand why the biblical God is so, dominant above all the others. The biblical God is a nationalistic God, nationalistic essence. The whole idea is more than individual, it's very national in nature, let alone the people who don't understand what the Bible is about. The Bible is a nationalist book. From the time they left Egypt, the whole idea was to form a holy nation. By holy means separated nation, not like others. That's why that idea was so powerful, still is to this day, because it's an idea of nationality. Obviously, there's people who don't understand the Bible. They wanna, no, it's salvation, but salvation for a nation. You understand? For a nation. Because they have one set of principles that they follow, one law that they follow, one deity that they worship. They have to subscribe to that in order to conquer. Anytime they stopped behaving that way, they would be enslaved. Whether they're enslaved by the Jebusites or the Moabites, or they are being attacked by the Moabites, Amorites, the Babylonians, the Assyrians. Anytime they deviated from that, that's the whole idea of the Bible. So let's come back now. The Chinese did that for the Chinese people. They had a clear agenda, clear identity, clear set of values, and everyone must follow this. Anyone who doesn't follow this, the Chinese government handles them in their own way. They even adopted a new form of socialism. They call it socialism with Chinese characteristics, which means it's a socialist system but applied to their own context. With Chinese characteristics, they didn't call themselves by skin color, they called themselves by nationality, Chinese characteristics, or by ethnicity. And yet you want to come, black people. But what's that? What's black people, man? What is that to begin with? We need to decipher these things, because you were called black people by a group of people who didn't even give a damn about understanding who you are. You were called that, you embraced it, and then today you are stuck with some, delusional identity and solidarity, which does not really exist. Otherwise, if it did exist, we wouldn't have such a high rate of black people killing other black people stealing from other black people destroying other black people taking properties of other black people. We wouldn't have that if there was an actual identity. But it's not there. It was never there to begin with. So now, my proposal, there needs to be an actual sit down about people who actually want to build something, black people who want to build something, native South Africans want to build something. They need to sit down and talk and decide, put money together, put funds together, draft a group of a set of values that they live by, draft a set of principles that they live by, design a project, whether it's for the next 100 years or the next 200 years, design a project separate from the entire society of South Africa, because it's deteriorating and it's going to get worse. And I propose this to all groups who want to be free, in fact. In America, there's a group of people known as the Amish people. They've done this beautifully. They've separated from the rest of America and they've been maintaining their way of life successfully so. It's a group of people with a clear identity, not skin color, but a clear identity based on a core system of values. That's how the Afrikaners did it. Not to say, skin color didn't play a role. It played a very crucial role. But you could have removed skin color from the whole thing. Everyone would be white. But still, you would have that clear boundary when it comes to identity. Because they designed that identity. They were not born Boers. They were not born Afrikaners. They designed it. And therefore, they imposed their system on people who were not part of that identity. That's why apartheid existed. To destroy, to reduce anything that did not promote their identity. They reduced